Hey, welcome back to my channel, Duct Tape Mechanic. In this video, I'm going to show you how to fix a Honda Accord that's idling roughly by changing the spark plugs. So if you find this video to be helpful, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more DIY and tinkering videos. Alright, so this is a 2014 Honda Accord. This video is going to be applicable to any sort of 9th generation Honda Accord. So that's 2013 to 2017. This is a 4-cylinder engine, and I bought this right before the pandemic. It had around 77,000 miles, and all I've pretty much had to do was do an oil change every 3,000 to 4,000 miles and the occasional air filter. Now I have noticed that the car is beginning to idle real rough, and so I decided it's probably a good idea to change the spark plugs. But I probably should have done those earlier, because after I looked it up, the manufacturer recommends changing the spark plugs between 75 to 100,000 miles. So it's clearly over that. And look, we even have a kid in there. All right, so let's get to it. So if you can listen carefully, you can hear that knocking sound. And the car is in drive right now, but it's stopped at a stop sign. So this is what we call being idle. And it's a slight knocking sound, and that's an indicator that your spark plugs are bad. Now obviously you probably want to change them before they get to this point, but if they're making this noise where you hear that slight knocking, then it's definitely one of the main issues that could cause that is spark plugs. Here's all the parts and tools we'll be needing. All you need is a 14mm deep socket and a 10mm socket. You don't need an impact. I'm just going to use it because I like to use it. And you'll need the spark plugs. These are NGK iridium spark plugs. I like these particular ones because I've used them in the past, and there seem to be a good kind of middle ground spark plug where you don't want to go too cheap, and obviously the dealer sells them for a lot more expensive. But I do believe even the OEM Honda Accords use NGK. This one was around $11.99 per spark plug, so multiply that by 4, and we're looking around 48 bucks, around 50 bucks with taxes. And if you go to the dealer, they actually cost double. The OEM ones are actually $22 per spark plug, and those are also iridium spark plugs. So I don't see the need to get these from the dealer. I'm not opposed to getting parts from the dealer. It's just in this case, I think it's probably okay just to use NGK iridium spark plugs. And then I also got 2 packets of this anti-seize lubricant, which we'll be putting on the threads of the spark plugs. This basically makes it easier for the spark plugs to come out the next time we actually have to replace them, which could be around at 250 or 260,000 miles. So if I have to do this job again on this car, I'd be real happy that it lasted that long. Also mention that these spark plugs are pre-gapped, and if you buy some that are not pre-gapped, the gap requirement for a Honda Accord is 0.044 inches. But these ones are already pre-gapped, so we won't have to touch them. So we popped open the hood right here. Please excuse the dirt. This car, like I said, I've done pretty much no maintenance to this thing. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead and first open these 5 bolts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right there. These are all 10mm bolts. Alright, so with the cover removed, we have access to our coil pack right here, or coil packs I should say. So you got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the way I like to do it is one at a time, so you don't have to worry about switching any of the coil packs or messing anything up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo one 10mm bolt, take it off, undo the wire connector for the coil pack, take the coil pack out, then remove the spark plug, replace the spark plug, and just put the coil pack in, then move on to the next 3 after that. So It's just that way I don't have to worry about messing anything up, and I can always just make sure that each coil pack goes to the appropriate cylinder. So I like to take this 10mm bolt off first. Then it's just this tab right here that you can just push while pulling back, and it should come off. They can be a little bit stiff, but this one looks like it's going to come off. There we go. And to my surprise, there's not any oil in the actual spark the spark plug well over here. So that's pretty good. I was actually surprised by that. That tells us that the spark plug gasket, at least for this cylinder, is okay. But anyways, we're not worried about that today. So the next thing we're gonna do is get our 14mm socket and pull out that spark plug. So I did have to go and get a little bit of a deeper socket because the one I was originally using, it wasn't deep enough to reach it, because this is a 14mm spark plug, so I didn't have to use this one. Yes, and this is Harbor Freight. You can tell by the color coding. Alright, so once you have the spark plug loose, it helps to have either a magnetic pickup tool or some sort of magnet. What I did was I just switched the socket with a real socket designed for spark plugs, which has a magnet in it. It's actually, I believe it's a 5/8 inch, so it's oversized, but the magnet is what's going to pull it up. So I just switched to that socket, and there's that spark plug right there. So it's just sitting in there all loose, and you can just get a magnetic pickup tool and pick it up if that's easier. I just had this, it's a 5/8 one that just has a magnet in it, so that's what I was using that one for. But that's what it looks like if the spark plug hasn't been changed in 110,000 miles. So you can just see the corrosion build up on the tip of the electrode right there. And so yeah, definitely needed to be replaced. So the next step is I'm gonna get the anti-seize thread and put it onto the new spark plug. Then I'm gonna go ahead and gently put it down. Probably gonna either use a magnet or this oversized spark plug changing 5/8 inch socket and set it into place, then use my 14mm socket to tie it down. Yes, the original ones that are in the Honda are NGKs as well. So we're just going with the NGK Iridium. So what I'm going to do is going to get the anti-seize right here, and just going to put a little bit of it on the threads right there. It should be good. Just put a little bit more, and I'm going to put that down into the well. Just put it down, give it a couple, see if I can just, okay, it's in there. So now I'm gonna switch over to my 14mm socket. If you can find a 14mm socket specifically designed for spark plugs, that's probably the way to go. So this one's just a regular 14. Well, I'm just gonna tighten it down with my hand until I can feel it touch the base, and I can't go no more. Then I'll go about a quarter turn more, and that's what it says in the directions as well. So I'm sure there's torque specs you could find. I'm not gonna worry too much about that, because as long as it seals that metal washer, the end of the spark plug, I think it should be okay. I'm obviously not gonna overdo it either. So I'm just gonna do, it's pretty much at the base. So I'm gonna give it a quarter turn right there, and we're gonna call it. That I'm gonna get my coil pack And I'm gonna go ahead and put it into place with it facing down. And then I'm just gonna put the 10mm bolt back on there. You don't want to over tighten it because it's just plastic and then it'll crack. There we go. And it will just put that connector back on. Nice and snap back on there. And then it's pretty much just rinse and repeat for the rest of these 3 coils and spark plugs, and we should be done with the job if we do it one step at a time. We don't have to worry about messing anything up. All right, so all of the spark plugs have been replaced. Time to slap the cover back on. Here, while I was at it, might as well throw in a fresh air filter as well. There's all 4 of those plugs. They look pretty nasty. The tips is what really matters, and that's clearly corroded. Not sure how well those were sparking. You can see just the crust on them. Also kind of burned up from this portion as well. So they were well due. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to fire up the car. I won't be surprised if there's any sort of a little bit of excess smoke for a while, but that should clear right up. We'll see how it does. And this should solve the rough idle problem as well. So if you found this video to be helpful, make sure you hit the thumbs up sign, because I'm here in the middle of the night working on this for you.